There are moments in life when we all find ourselves at the crossroads of uncertainty, where the weight of worry threatens to overwhelm us. It's as though the world is spinning faster than we can keep up, and every decision, every moment, every breath seems to carry an anxiety of its own. We wake up in the morning, and the first thing we feel is a rush of questions, doubts, fears, and the overwhelming pressure to control everything around us. We ask ourselves, how will this day unfold? What will happen if I don't get it right? What if I fail? We begin to question whether or not we can trust the future, whether it will be filled with more trials or more triumphs. We feel the weight of every moment, every step, as though the responsibility of the entire world rests solely on our shoulders. But here's a truth that is so simple yet so profound. God is in control. Yes, God is in control. In the midst of the confusion, the chaos, and the storms of life, the one who created the heavens and the earth is holding everything together. He's not surprised by your circumstances. He's not confused by your struggles, and he is certainly not overwhelmed by your worries. You see, we tend to carry our burdens as though they are meant to break us, forgetting that God is bigger than any challenge we face. There's something incredibly freeing when we realize that the weight of the world does not rest on us, but on the one who formed the universe with his words. He is not a distant, disinterested figure. No, he is deeply invested in our lives, our struggles, our pains, our victories, and our dreams. The scriptures tell us that he has numbered the very hairs on our heads. Every detail of our lives is known to him. He sees the path ahead of us, even when we cannot see the way. And he has a plan that is far beyond what we could ever imagine. Imagine for a moment the peace that comes from knowing that you don't have to carry the weight of your life alone. It doesn't mean that life won't present its challenges. It doesn't mean that every day will be smooth sailing. But it does mean that regardless of what comes your way, you are not walking this journey by yourself. You have a God who is walking with you, guiding you, and carrying you through. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that we must have everything figured out. We look around and see others succeeding, thriving, moving forward, and we begin to feel as though we are falling behind. The pressure to keep up is intense, and the constant striving can leave us exhausted. But here's the thing, your race is your race, it's not anyone else's. The pace of your life is determined by God, not by the standards of others or by the unrealistic expectations that the world places on us. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus, in the midst of a storm, was fast asleep in the boat while his disciples panicked and worried. The storm raged, the winds howled, the waves crashed, and yet Jesus was at peace. In the face of uncertainty, he was calm. His disciples woke him frantic and desperate, saying, "Don't you care that we're about to drown?" And Jesus, with all the authority of heaven, stood up, rebuked the storm, and said, "Peace, be still." The storm obeyed him, and then he turned to his disciples and asked, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith? Do you still have no faith?" That story serves as a reminder to us that in the midst of life's storms, Jesus is not unaware of our struggles. He is not caught off guard by our fear. He is in control. The storms of life may rage around us, but God remains steadfast, unshaken, and in command of every situation. When we worry, we forget that the one who controls the wind and the waves is also in control of our lives. And in those moments when fear tries to grip us, we need to remind ourselves that God is in control. He is not only with us in the storm, but he is also the one who calms the storm. We often forget that worry does nothing but steal our peace and our joy. It doesn't change the outcome of our circumstances. It doesn't add a single day to our lives. Worry is a thief that robs us of the present moment, causing us to focus on what could go wrong instead of on what God is already doing. Jesus himself tells us not to worry about tomorrow, for today has enough trouble of its own. He doesn't minimize the challenges we face, but he encourages us to trust him with the future. When we trust in God's control, we move from a place of fear to a place of faith. Faith doesn't mean that we won't encounter hardships. It doesn't mean that we will always understand why things happen the way they do. But faith means that we trust in the sovereignty of God. We trust that he knows what he's doing, even when we don't. We trust that his plans for us are good and that he is working everything together for our good. And let's talk about those moments when life doesn't seem to make sense. When the dreams we've worked so hard for don't come to fruition, when the doors we thought would open remain shut, when the plans we've made seem to fall apart, it's easy to think that God is absent in those moments. But the truth is that He is always working, even when we don't see it. Sometimes God's plan doesn't unfold the way we expect it to, but that doesn't mean He's not in control. Take a look at the story of Joseph. Here was a young man with a dream, a vision of greatness that he believed God had given him. Yet, his path to that dream was anything but straightforward. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and imprisoned. The journey was long, painful, and full of setbacks, but through it all, God was in control. What looked like a series of unfortunate events was actually God's perfect plan unfolding, leading Joseph to a place where he could save a nation from famine. Had Joseph's path been smooth, he may have never reached that place of destiny. It was through the struggles, the setbacks, and the moments of uncertainty that God was preparing him for the greatness He had in store. So when life doesn't make sense, when you don't see how the pieces fit together, remember that God is still in control. He sees the bigger picture. He is not limited by time, space, or circumstances. What we see as obstacles, He sees as opportunities. What we see as setbacks, He sees as setups for something greater. We don't need to have it all figured out because God already has it all under control. And what about the moments when we feel like we're not enough? When we feel like we're too weak, too broken, too far gone? God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. He doesn't need us to be perfect. He doesn't need us to have all the answers. He just needs us to trust Him. When we surrender control to God, we are able to rest in the knowledge that He is more than able to handle what we cannot. It's time to stop worrying. It's time to stop trying to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. God is in control. He has always been in control, and He always will be. The same God who spoke the universe into existence, the same God who is holding your life together. He is the same God who is with you in your struggles, who walks beside you in your doubts, and who will never leave you nor forsake you. You don't have to worry because you can trust that He is in control. The next time you find yourself overwhelmed by life's uncertainties, remind yourself of this truth. God is in control. He has a plan for you. His ways are higher than our ways, and His timing is perfect. You don't need to have all the answers because He already does. And when you rest in His control, you can face each day with confidence, knowing that no matter what comes your way, God has already gone before you. Let go of your worries. Trust that God is in control. And know that no matter how stormy the seas may get, the one who calms the storm is right there with you, holding your hand and guiding you through. In the midst of life's challenges, remember that God is always in control. He is not surprised by our circumstances, and His plans for us are greater than anything we can imagine. We do not need to carry the weight of worry because He holds our lives in His hands. Worry does nothing to change our circumstances. Instead, it steals our peace and joy. Choosing to trust in God's sovereignty means shifting from fear to faith, knowing that God is always working behind the scenes for our good, even when we can't see it. Life may not always make sense, and setbacks can be painful, but God's plan is always unfolding in ways we cannot fully understand. When we surrender control to God, we allow His perfect plan to work through our weaknesses, and we can rest knowing He is guiding us every step of the way. In the hustle and bustle of our daily lives, it is easy to become consumed by the idea that we must control everything around us. We look at the world and see chaos, confusion, and disorder, and we begin to feel the weight of it all on our shoulders. From the responsibilities of our personal lives to the challenges we face in our professional endeavors, it can often seem as though the world is spinning faster than we can keep up. We search for answers, strive to make things happen, and try to manage every detail with precision, believing that if we don't, everything will fall apart. But in these moments of anxiety, there is a deep truth that we must hold on to. God is sovereign, and He is in control. This truth does not change with the ebb and flow of our emotions, nor does it falter in the face of our uncertainties. It is a constant, unshakable foundation that we can rely on, even when everything around us seems to be falling apart. To understand God's sovereignty, we must first recognize that He is the ultimate authority over all creation. He is the creator of the universe, The one who spoke the stars into existence and formed the mountains with his hands. Everything that exists is under his dominion, and nothing escapes his notice. There is nothing that happens outside of his will or his plan. This is not to say that everything that happens is good, or that everything aligns with his perfect will, but rather that he is in ultimate control, and nothing is beyond his reach. His sovereignty means that he holds the entire universe in his hands, and he orchestrates everything with divine purpose. When we come to understand this truth, it changes how we view the events of our lives. No longer do we have to carry the burden of worrying about every detail. No longer must we feel as though it is up to us to figure everything out. When we recognize that God is sovereign, we can begin to let go of the need to control everything and trust that He is working things out. When we are at our lowest, He is at His strongest. When we are overwhelmed, He is unfazed. His sovereignty means that even when we don't understand, we can trust that He is still in control and that He is working everything out for our benefit, even when it doesn't feel like it in the moment. It distracts us from the blessings we already have, the opportunities we can seize, and the beauty of life right now. When we choose to trust in God, we are choosing to release our worries and place them in His hands. So often we find ourselves worrying because things aren't happening as quickly as we'd like, or the answers we're seeking haven't come yet. But trust means that we let go of our own timelines and submit to God's perfect timing. God's ways are higher than ours, and His timing is. The act of surrender is not about giving up or resigning to a passive existence. It is about choosing to trust in the wisdom, love, and sovereignty of the one who knows us better than we know ourselves. It means that we make those decisions with a heart of surrender, acknowledging that we are submitting our plans to God and trusting that He will guide us in the right direction.